It's estimated in history that it's been over thousands, tens of thousands of years since man domesticated its first animal, particularly a dog. Over time, we've moved on to other animals for different reasons: sustenance, companionship, prestige, and social status. But one of the most elegant of those animals, the Equus caballus, has been tamed around 4,000 years ago in the Caucasus of Northern Europe and Asia. And since then, we humans have had generations over generations of time practice science to concoct the perfect form, the truest form of Equidae. And today, folks, I'm here to present you with the perfect specimen, the perfect horse, the perfect Duma. I present to you Hello, ZZ Proxies. Welcome to your early access guide to Ye Shunguang, the newest Void Hunter on the block. And it's no secret that she's one of the most anticipated characters of 2.x patch outside of the Grandmaster herself. Yet, with the practices and mastery of Kung Fu and Swapian Temple teachings, how does this fluffy-tailed monstrosity dish out damage? Let's discuss kit, build, teams, and combos so that you can master the master. And with that, let us begin our training. Firstly, let's start off with Little Guang's overview. Yes, I know we want to see the big ult, but there are a few steps before we get there. As an enhanced physical attacker, she's able to dish out massive damage in the form of honed edge damage. What's special about this type of damage is that it gains a 50% miasma purification rate bonus. So when your bosses and enemies gain the red bar and go into the miasma state, you can use the power of friendship and horse magic to rid them of their chungus lives. Next is Ye Shunguang's core ability that has her stacking these points called the Qingming Sword Force. When not in the enlightened mind state, Ye Shunguang will accumulate sword force through her attacks like so. And these points will be utilized to dish out several different attack patterns when in the enlightened mind state. Whenever you might have extra accumulated points, which generally shouldn't happen, but sometimes they can, she can also gain a banked point, which is called Bear. And when she exits the initial enlightened state, you can now see her with the overflowed amount of stacks. Talking about the enlightened mind state, let's talk about how we enter it. With enough points, you can have her enter into the field in 3 different ways: her hold, basic, or swap in that will activate the assist ability called Illuminating Darkness, or by using an ultimate, which we'll see down the road is a lot more fun way to enter the state. By stand switching into the enlightened state, you will activate a new type of ether veil called Verdict. So far, the few characters that have ether veils, inclusive of Lucia, Yidhari, and now Zhao, all of them have ether veil wellsprings, which is the purple bubble veil stance. The veils before were able to buff HP by 5%. With Ye Shunguang's ether veil Verdict, it actually creates a whole domain whereby enemies within will be inflicted with a new status called Veil Vulnerability. The ability description that we're about to mention, it's gonna sound bad, but let me tell you, it's actually quite the good thing. Firstly, the Veil Vulnerability will fix the stun multiplier to a max of 210%. Yet, as you can tell, it can factor in stun damage multipliers, just not the ones that require you to be in stun to have said multiplier. So characters like Trigger, for example, are great for consistent multiplier application. Yet, this is where the whole ether veil mechanic comes in. As with YSG's additional ability, she can actually gain 3 Qingming Sword Force points right off the rip by any activation of an ether veil. So let's say you create a veil with the new character Zhao, boom, you have 3 stacks right there. This ability can be used when you have a support or defense character by your side. So just to pause here, let's review. We have Sword Force stacks with 6 stacks. You'll enter the enlightened mind state and start doing bursts of damage. Oh, and just as a smaller aside, we also will circle back to this in the build portion. When entering the whole battle, she gains a status called Unity. This will grant her a whole truckload of crit stats, 30% crit rate, and 25% crit damage bonus at core F to be specific. And when in the ether verdict state, she'll ignore extra stun damage multipliers and just, again, apply her own 110% onto enemies within her domain expansion. Alright, let's start talking about the actual hacking and slashing, because that's what you've all been waiting for. Cue the funk. See, with Senior Guang, we can actually perform a few different attacks, either bursts of damage or extend the period of attacks for some swishes and swashes. But for most, let's talk about how to enter into the state again. It's quite easy. Use your basics and EX specials to get 6 Sword Force stacks. You can see this meter that builds up quite quickly, and an EX can grant a whole stack's worth of energy. As long as you have the 6 Sword Force points, you can hold down your basic, assist in, or use an ult to go full Ken Kaneki. Here is your first demonstration on the brain rot way to play YSG. In the Enlightened Mind state, you can literally just mash the basic button and yay, damage. Hold the EX special after you've consumed your Sword Force points, and you'll get a free mini ult called the Cleaving Heavens. But, this is no way to play Ye Shunguang. If you're an Uma connoisseur like I am, you are going to learn this combo. First, let's talk about her EX special hold combo. With the entry skill into the Enlightened state, you'll most likely have a full stack of 6 force points. The shortest burst combo comes from the use of her EX special skills. So we'll first start with the hold EX special combo. This basically has you holding down your EX special or special button, and it consumes points automatically for you. This makes things super easy, it's fun to watch, and the EX special does a ton of damage. And once it ends, you can continue to hold down the EX special to launch this exit skill called Return to Dust. This particular combo is literally the antithesis of what Panya stands for, as you're literally holding down a button versus inputting combos. Literally, as you hold down your EX special, you can go grab some snacks, graduate from college, get married, settle down into a house, retire and grab pension, and then, on death's door, can you unleash the finisher EX special. Now, at M0, this turns out to be more damage in less time than the basic string. But when we get to the M2, we'll soon start to integrate the basic combo a bit more. But there is a small little extra inch of damage you can make use of, and that has to do with the ability on the basic called Culmination. And this will basically grant you a free consumption of the sword point when you're charging that EX special combo. So what you want to do is input the entry skill. This will lead to the Qingming Sunderlight, and then to the Sunderlight Annihilation. When this happens, you can then follow up with the converted culmination effect that will essentially take over as you hold your special down to quickly consume the points of Sword Force, which from the first 2 inputs you should still have 6 to perform the fully enhanced version, thus leading to the finisher ult. Yet we can take this concept of culmination and bring it further beyond, with the 2 Sunderlight maximum combo that is. This will have us mixing in inputs of specials and basics to create the best combination of attacks, alongside the utilization of the sword points, as we only have 6 per run. Well, at least at M0. With this combo, we show a Sunder Max into Soaring Light combo twice. This allows us to make use of the culmination effect that banks points for us to use with the Soaring Light EX special. This special regularly costs 6 to use, but is arguably the strongest attack in the rotation. Remember the hold special combo we performed at the beginning of this showcase? Yeah, it's this one. Well, we're bringing that into this combo, as we can use the Annihilation effect to proc culmination, making the Soaring Light economical enough for us to use it twice in a single Enlightened Mind rotation, like so. And all you have to input is special to downward strike, basic for the maximum attack, then go into your EX special, cancel that with a special, and then basic special again. And for now, that's the main combo line. We'll introduce when to use ults, when to use the Enlightened state, and more down the road in the combo section. But for now, you're on your way to learning Ye Shunguang. Now we've got to get under the hood with the build guide, because what's the combo without the numbers to back it up? Let's start with the Wenjins as per usual, and boy is the signature strong. This crystal ball is called the Cloud Cleave Radiance and will grant a strong 743 base attack, which, unlike the more recent Rupture units, we can make use of it to its fullest, and a strong 40% crit damage multiplier in the advanced stat to help us with a little damage kick. Sprinkled in is a 20% damage ignore of physical resistance, and when the equipped user activates an Ether Veil, which, well, she's the only attacker as of current to do this, she can gain 20% increased damage bonus and even more crit damage, an additional 20% for 40 seconds. Repeats of this action will refresh the whole timer, which, if you're spending 40 seconds in between inline states, you're playing Little Guang a little too slow. This Wenjin is arguably the strongest option, as it's all gas, pure damage. Yet, having other options such as the Heartstring Nocturne that grants a sprinkle of crit rate and 50% crit damage is quite strong as well. The Steel Cushion as a physical-based option is solid too, but I've had issues positioning myself because, well, you can see that you're kind of just flying around everywhere, but it's not too bad in order to proc the damage bonus. Here's a small spread of the damage differentials and percentage differences of the W engines. As folks are finding out with how Ye Shunguang is now, the Brimstone actually jumps up a ton in value because of you mixing in basics during your offensive kit. One Wenjin that actually shoots up in value is the budget option of Korn's Housekeeper. Who knew that her signature would be so relevant in the big 2-6? But if not used on characters like Orphe and Magus for the energy regen bonus, you can stack physical damage with EX specials, leading to some strong last bursts of damage. Then, followed by that, ideally you want to focus on damage-oriented options because YSG already has a ton of crit rate baked in. Let's break it down. You get 5% from base. You also get 14.4% from cores A, C, and E. Then, with the core passive Unity, as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, you gain a fat 30% crit rate. So we're already at a solid 49.4%. But that's not all. With Ye Shunguang's new dedicated drive disc called the Whitewater Ballad, this will, at tops, grant a 20% crit rate, leaving you with a whopping 69.4%, even just to start off. Meaning, as your initial crit rate here on screen, you'll need only around 50% to max out to 100. This will allow you to potentially go A, either into Woodpecker on the 2 set as an ease into the substats, or B, just min-max at substats and go for more damage in the 2 set. Either or, this character providing quite a bit up front makes it so much easier to build. Very gracious of our senior. Talking about drive discs, let's break down the Whitewater Ballad just a bit more. The balance set on the 2 bonus grants us 10% physical damage, which is pretty tame. Then on the 4 set, the passive states that within any Ether Veil, we get a starting 10% crit rate. And then, when leaving any veil, we will still have this effect hold on for 15 seconds. It's pretty generous. But this set is not done giving. With an attacker character activating said Ether Veil, you gain an additional 10% crit rate and extra 10% attack for 30 seconds. Holy smokes! This is amazing. Personally, I wish this set was just an attacker, not an attacker activating Ether Veil. Otherwise, we'd actually be seeing a lot of Zhao-based attacker teams use this new set. But call me a dreamer, I guess. Still, this dedicated drive set is strong and very few can follow it. Speaking of following, this set, personally, the Puffer Electro is a strong second if you're not willing to farm the new one. The offensive bonuses to ult and attack after using said ults are somewhat viable. Prior to M2, the Woodpecker would not be a great option, but after some Mindscape investments, the attack bonuses from said option are very strong. So if you're willing to invest into higher Mindscapes, look out for that option for a much more pure DPS bonus. Then alongside the line of thought, the Dawn's Bloom becomes somewhat viable as well, with the bonuses to basic attack generally not better than the overall bonuses of the previous sets. I wouldn't really focus on this one too much. And then for the very cheeky, we can bring it all the way back to the Fanged Metal. And with YSG providing such an onslaught of physical, I could see us utilizing the 35% damage bonus after proccing an assault prior to the Enlightened phase. For the 2-slot bonus, look to balance out your build with physical damage bonus, crit damage, or crit rate. If needed, an extra few points to round out to 100%. Then the lesser bonuses of attack or pen can still be useful at M0. With Ye Shunguang, you should be able to make use of the whole spread as she is an attacker versus the somewhat restrictive Rupture class, so include pen and attack if you are lacking in that department. With the 4 set, you want to go crit damage or crit rate if you are still needing 100%. Go physical into attack and then pen for slot 5, and for slot 6, it is your conventional attack percent. Look no further than our early access build infographic sheets over here on Twitter, Discord, or on Hoyo Lab. And don't forget to stop by our Twitch streams as we are hosting a few $100 Polychrome giveaways for Ye Shunguang. We want to see everyone be a Void Hunter Haver this holiday season. And now, onto the team section and combo breakdowns. I love to put these two together simply because it's just better we showcase Lil Guang's potency alongside her supporting cast. And does she have a varied amount of characters she can use at her disposal? As her being an attacker, this allows her the pick of the litter when it comes to initial support, like with the new Zhao and older Asher Yaos, Yuzahas, Caesar Kings, Lucy's, Seeds, and Orphes, as well as one of the greatest supports of them all, who just so happens to be a stunner, That's right, dial in. It's no question that Miss Yeshunguang will be instrumental to bring out Ye Shunguang's full potential, especially with the extra on-demand ult, allowing Senior Ye to enter into the enlightened state in extra time. But let's firstly start off with one of the more popular teams you'll see, that being Ye Shunguang, the free Zhao, and Dial In, with extra bonuses to damage, attack, and with signatures, bonuses to crit damage. This 6-cost team here is absolutely diabolical in terms of potential damage. And don't forget the Veil passives that the Labubu is able to help maintain. It assists with overall damage both in and out of using the unlimited blade works. Let's begin the combat showcase. First here with the entry of the quick EX special with Dial In to mark the enemy with the overly positive effect, and then quick swap into Zhao's EX special to open the Ether Veil Wellspring into a quick assist into Ye Shunguang. Then from here we really don't have much to maintain with both the stunner or defensive support, and you can just go into wailing against the enemy. Yet know that if you were to be attacked in or out of the enlightened state, instead of dodging, use your special. Just like Alice Timefield, you'll be able to go into a perfect dodge, and this helps with the flow of kit and to gain more decibels for faster ult generation. Then once you have 6 stacks of sword force, make sure to go and apply your first rock, scissors, and paper so that you can have 1 customer complaint point, shown here where you have the gold dot with the gold bar. From here, you can enter into Ye Shunguang's enlightened state, most likely with a swap in after setting up Dial In and refreshing Zhao's buffs. Entry skill into the basic and special combo mentioned above. Then we move into the big special and basic combo as shown earlier that has us weaving in the Annihilation, Maximum, and Soaring Light attacks for maximum efficiency and damage for our enlightened state window. And the fun doesn't stop here. Use Dial In's charge attack to immediately enter into the stance again. With the amount of time you have on your buffs, generally you can get 2 or 3 enlightened stances off, so immediately just rush into another skill. More than likely you'll have entered into the stun state by now, and here you can pop Ye Shunguang's chain attacks and then back into the ult for one last enlightened state burst. As you can see, within one whole pre and stun rotation, you can get around 3 to 4 enlightened stances off, which leads to consistent massive overall damage versus having to rely on building up to the stun window. Your bonuses are fixed within the Ether Veil verdict states, but understand that she can outpour so much damage without a stun damage multiplier with her Veil vulnerability passive. Even though it is capped on damage, she just doesn't need the extra damage multipliers because the amount of DPS you're outpouring is already insane. And this is just because YSG has such a consistent rotation of kit. You really don't have to alter too much with her playstyle and can consistently rely on the amount of damage you can output each time as long as you maintain buff uptimes of your other supporting units. They will, of course, range depending on who you use, so outside of the highlighted teams, here is a quick display of my favorite premium teams. And of course, I didn't forget the budgets. Here are my favorite F2P and budget teams. I'd love to suggest the Asher Yao team with Dial In, or let's even swap out Dial In and just put a unit like Zhufufu. With her amazing crit damage bonuses and consistent contributions of days, you can also go for characters like M6 Pokra, or even Caesar King for both a small buff bonus and her ability to burst days with her parries. Yet there are 2 alternative lines of team comps that I would love to explore with you guys. Let's firstly look through the door of the double attacker team comp. These include the units of Seed and Orpheum Magus. Either or will provide you with some baller bonuses, and in particular with Seed, we've seen her mentioned in and out of the betas, but now with this more finalized version of Ye Shunguang, it is clear that Seed is one of the best buffers and sub-TPS units to pair with the Void Hunter, granting strong attack bonuses, the Vanguard damage bonus, and even her own DPS in bursts with the Charge basic slam attack. Seed actually contributes a lot versus just stockpiling and front-loading all the damage through Little Guang herself. This energy actually feels quite nice, so be on the lookout for this team to dish out massive clears. And Orphe is a solid pairing as well, with her smaller zeroed in buff and contributions of off-field aftershock damage. She is not as potent as Seed, but a great sub-DPS partner nonetheless. Then we turn our eyes over to a whole new world of Anomaly, because Ye Shunguang is physical. You know we have to try the Monocle physical team with her rocking the Fanged Metal. This comp is lethal and super fast, yet without someone like Trigger to proc off-field physical anomaly, the damage numbers are just not reflective of the fun that you can have with the likes of Alice or Jane, even Piper, for crying out loud. And paired with a unit like Jshoea, who not only helps with attack and damage bonuses, but ease of anomaly buildup and disorder, this makes for a strong base for you to slot in units like Bernice, who can definitely stay off-field and out of the Void Hunter's way to still deal massive contributions of Blooms and afterburn damage. If you guys didn't know, units like Bernice, Grace, and Soldier 11 have gone reworked, so make sure to subscribe to the channel right now so you can catch the early access Awakened character guide coming in the near future. Outside of that, Ye Shunguang barely has any enemies. Well, since after using a few Enlightened Mind State ults, they'll have either evaporated or gone medically blind by the heavenly light as she splits the sky. When I was recording the actual gameplay footage, I had to squint my eyes for how many times I was ulting back to back. And that's it for the team and combat segment. Pretty easy as all things considered, as her combos are quite streamlined for now. Before, I had heard that she had much more skill and expression, which I assumed after hearing feedback with Banya, they didn't want to go too hard with our new Void Hunter, so we'll cut them some slack. Yet in my previous guides, this is the point of the video where people usually tune out. But I have a very strong suspicion that some of you guys actually moved here from certain timestamps and potentially even just jumped here after seeing the chapters. Folks, it's time to look at our higher vertical investments. That's right. It's time for Mindscapes. This portion of the video will actually get a lot more love this time, as the M1 and M2 actually open up quite a bit to our gameplay. But before there, we'll start at the bottom. Let's start with the Mindscape 1. M1 for Ye Shunguang is a quality of life start buff that grants 6 Qingming Sword 4 stacks off rip, meaning you pop a Dailin and Zhao EX special, which again will actually give you the bear stacks, and then can immediately go into the first ult here. It's pretty nasty. Alongside this, the Unity buff gains an additional effect, allowing for increased damage and 20% defense ignore. So if you were thinking of running Pen on 5, well, with the M1 onward, that dream is pretty shattered. M2 is where we get spicy. And to start opening up the kit a bit more with this ability called Light and Shadow, Guang will increase the bear stacks to 6 and the culmination to 9, thus meaning more opportunities to sneak in basic attacks in betwixt the special hold attack. While in the inline state, each point of Sword Force consumed will grant 1 culmination, as mentioned before, this allowing for interesting set of combos like so. And to wrap it all up, all Soaring Light will ignore 40% defense. This paired with the physical ignore and 20% ignore from the Unity buff prior almost makes her a Rupture character at this point. Wow. Then M3 and M5 are skill increases, which are just small spikes in damage potential. The M4 is another QOL bonus to grant you 1000 decibels at the start of battle, and with triggering the verdict version of either Veil, you'll gain an additional 200% of said stun damage multiplier. This Mindscape actually adds insane amount of damage to the Enlightened state. And to wrap it all up, those willing to go further beyond will be able to gain the M6. When entering the field, you'll gain a new stack called Lantern's Wish, and each time you enter into the enhanced state, you will stack 1 point of these to a max of 4. aka when you start the battle, you'll need an additional 2 with the first 2 stacks to gain a max 4. Yet before then, when having 3 stacks of Lantern, you'll return to Dust. EX Special will be replaced with the ult finisher, Cleaving Heavens, each allowing for an additional damage instance of 1500 of Ye Shunguang's attack as physical damage, essentially confirming that any exit out of the enlightened state will dish out this extra instance of damage. And with how many you can pop with the dial-in, oh boy, this M6 ability actually adds quite a bit of extra damage. With M1 and M2, your builds will change. So if you are considering vertical investments, please plan accordingly. Yet I'm here to reassure all those who are just grabbing a single Ye Shunguang and saving or planning or using your polys elsewhere. YSG is in a league above most other DPS currently and will be for a while, meaning that you should be fine to go quite budget on her, and then when she inevitably rolls around in a rerun banner, you can come back to her if you so choose. In summary, her floor is so accessible, and her ceiling, because of this unique playstyle of ignoring stun windows, Ye Shunguang turns out to be one of the most consistent DPS units we've ever seen. And I'm glad to report that if you invest into her, you will do very well for the current and near future content. And with that, I just wanted to end this video, and arguably this year, with a huge thank you. I wouldn't be able to get early access or be able to showcase Ye Shunguang like this if it wasn't for your guys' support. Heck, I wouldn't be able to even create content without the amazing support of the Raccoon Platoon. That's you guys. This year, I was about to quit content altogether back in February and March, but this little game called ZZZ came in and became one of my favorite games of all time. And a game that's given me the opportunity to create such a great little pond here and be a voice in the greater ZZ community space. So again, thank you. Make sure to join in on our Twitch and YouTube live streams, as throughout the next couple weeks and month, we will be hosting a bunch of giveaways, collabs, community events, and more for you guys. And that'll wrap it up with the Ye Shunguang Early Access Guide and a wrap to the big old 2025. Thank you so much. It's your boy Josh. We'll see you in the next one.